so much. I appreciate that. Yeah. Next, we're going to have Mr. Brandon Edwards, and he's going to come. He's going to tell you a little bit about himself and just share with you so much. I appreciate that. From where he is. Next, we're going to have Mr. Brandon. All right, you're up.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Brandon Edwards. My pronouns are he, him, his. I want to thank you all for inviting me to this amazing platform. I think, of course, when it's dealing with youth, sometimes they can be overlooked because we focus on what the adults are doing when we need to focus on the youth because they're going to be our upcoming leaders. Um, so my experience, excuse me, I'm part of the, let's see, a little bit about myself. I work at Thrive, Alabama. We're federally qualified healthcare center here in Huntsville, Alabama. I'm an outreach specialist. Um, I am the director of Rocket City Pride here in Huntsville, Alabama. I also serve with different organizations as well outside of Rocket City Pride. Experience more so when it comes along to community. Of course, mainly is Thrive Alabama because we are a community organization as well as Rocket City Pride. Um, One thing that I was love about myself is that I am a part of the LGBTQIA plus community. Um, with being a part of the LGBTQIA plus community, it has its ups and downs. Of course, we're discriminated against just because of our sexuality, our preference, our identity. But for me, sometimes I feel like I have two strikes because I am a Black male at the end of the day. But one thing I have learned in what I do is strive past that. I'm more than just my skin tone and I'm more than just my sexuality. One thing that I've noticed when it has come to Dr. Martin Luther King is that his right hand man, excuse me, Bernard Rustin was a strong advocate and part of the LGBTQ community back in the day. So to even see that somebody that was a part of the community that I'm a part of being alongside somebody who we look up to and inspire to try to be like, it's just breathtaking for me. Um, just by being a part in the community and the service that we provide at within Rocket City Pride and Thrive, we of course try not well, we make it our mission not to outcast those who are part of the pride community. Let me say it like that. Sorry, but sometimes LGBTQIA plus can be a little bit breathtaking. So, but at the end of the day, we take pride in ourselves. And one thing that I can say that when it comes to being a part of the pride community, you just have to learn how to roll with the punches. Yes, people are not going to like you because of who you choose to marry or who you choose to love or who you choose to actually be. But at the end of the day, you have to keep rolling and you only live your life for you. Do not live your life for anybody else. Um, Last year when we were going through the Black Lives Matter movement, it was a strong derogatory term that was spray painted on South Memorial Parkway and did an interview about it. And that term, it was very disgusting when it came to me because it was two words that I do not tolerate in anybody's vocabulary: Black, white, Latinx, gay, straight, what have you. And just to see that, it was just disheartening because at the time we were in 2020. I don't understand why we're still using such terms when there are as many adjectives that's in Webster that we can utilize to get our point across without tearing somebody down. Um, and one thing that I can say to the youth to strive for greatness is if you decide that you are a part of the pride community and or just want to be an ally, make your voice heard. Like, you don't necessarily have to be in the closet or do things on the low to where you have to protect somebody. If you see that somebody's being bullied or even thinking about harming themselves, speak up for that individual and have pride within yourself so that way you can of course make a difference. That's one thing that I've noticed that even us adults do not do. We stand behind closed doors and we keep things on the low, so that way, of course, we don't ruffle feathers. And again, going back to the Black Lives Matter movement, I was in awe when I saw as many young people that were on the front lines, while some of us adults were at work and could not go out and march and protest. So to the young people that are watching, if you were out there, even if you thought about it, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because that does mean a lot that you want to stand up for what you actually believe in. Um, I am actually going to be a little bit brief. If anybody wants to contact me in any way, I'm going to put my Pride email in the chat, so that way you can reach out if you have any questions, if you want to get something off your chest. When it comes to Rocket City Pride, we do pride ourselves in being a resource to anybody that does reach out to us, or if you even want to volunteer, because we are looking for those. Hopefully COVID does not take over this year like it did last year, so we can, of course, have great activities that reach out to the whole Tennessee Valley. But I honestly do appreciate you all inviting me here and allowing me to speak with you all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brandon. We appreciate your candor. We appreciate the work that you're doing, and you keep doing what you're doing, man, and keep on standing up and doing what you can. We appreciate you, man. So we know you got to go, but we appreciate you for stepping in and sharing with us.
Thank you for having me. Y'all have a great rest of the program. Enjoy your day.
All right. Now we'll have a transition.
We have heard that it has been said, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy." But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them that despitefully use you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. Certainly these are great words lifted to cosmic proportions. The Greek language comes out with another word for love. It is the word agape. And agape is more than eros. Agape is more than philia. Agape is something of the understanding, creative, redemptive goodwill for all men. It is a love that seeks nothing in return. It is an overflowing love. It's what theologians would call the love of God working in the lives of men. And when you rise to love on this level, you begin to love men not because they are likable, but because God loves them. You look at every man and you love him because you know God loves him, and he might be the worst person you've ever seen. And this is what Jesus means, I think, in this very passage when he says, love your enemy. And it's significant that he does not say like your enemy. Like is a sentimental something, an affectionate something. There are a lot of people that I find it difficult to like. I don't like what they do to me. I don't like what they say about me and other people. I don't like their attitudes. I don't like some of the things they're doing. I don't like them. But Jesus said, love them. And love is greater than like. Love is understanding, redemptive goodwill for all men, so that you love everybody because God loves them. You refuse to do anything that will defeat an individual because you have agape in your soul.
I think those are appropriate words, especially in these times, where there's so much going on and so much hate. And so next up, we do have two young ladies that are going to come and share with you just a little bit about their experience and what they have done to overcome and how they have loved in spite of the treatment they've received. So I'm going to allow Sanaya Nolan and Aaliyah Mosley to share. Sanaya is actually an 8th grader at Whitesburg Middle School, and she is an entrepreneur. She is a basketball player, basketball star, volleyball star, just all-American. And she is, she also has a company that she does, I think, perfumes and smell goods and things that make you feel better about yourself. So she is an aspiring, she's not inspiring, she's already an entrepreneur. So just want to thank her. Aaliyah is a sophomore at Jemison High School. She is a brilliant young lady, very creative. A lot of what you've seen as far as the flyer and some of the other things, some of the themes, she's been the brainchild of some of this. And so she's already proven herself to be a leader. And I know that she did a project back during the holiday where she collected pajamas to give out to our community and to young people that were in need of something warm to sleep in at night. So both of these young ladies are awesome. And so I just want to let them come and share with you now. So I'm gonna let Sanaya go first.
Hello, I'm Sanaya Nolan. And today I'm just going to speak with you guys a little bit about my experience with being bullied. I got bullied in elementary school, mostly because I went to a majority Mexican school, and I got bullied about my skin color because I was very dark, and I still am. I'm a dark skinned girl and all that stuff. So I got bullied for my skin color. I'm also a thicker girl, so I would get bullied, get called fat, all the names. I've heard it, and yeah. It made it no better that I was a thicker girl and I had to be on steroids because I have a disease called autoimmune hepatitis. It's an immune disease, and I've just been suffering with it since I was 8. I've always been thicker, and one time, this little girl, I came back from being in the hospital from getting surgery, and this young lady decided, oh, well, I'm going to punch her where she got her surgery at. I don't know what was in her brain. I don't know what was going on, but she punched me in my stomach where my surgery is at. It hurt, and I had to go back to the hospital. I was in there for a few weeks, but when I got out, it changed me as a person. I would not let anybody, anything. I became very defensive physically and verbally. Once I found out what I could do, I was not going to let anybody touch me. If they touched me, we were going to fight, and it was just going to be that. And I learned sometimes violence is not the answer. And yeah, I would pop off at a lot of things people would say about me once I got out of the hospital, once after that event. And I was like, I need to find some type of peace, find some type of calm down. So I started talking with my mother, because after the situation, of course, my mom at first didn't know about me getting bullied until after I got out of the hospital, got back in the hospital. And, she had to know, because she had to know what caused me to pain again. So yeah, I had to tell her, and she started working with me on self-love, because I did not love myself. I did not know who I was. I was very young, and I just was all over the place. And I appreciate my mother for that. She wouldn't let me change for nobody else. She helped me remain the same at all times. And yeah, so that's a little bit about my experience with being bullied. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask, yeah.
We'll take questions after each person speaks, and then we'll just answer them as a group. So I'm going to go ahead and let Aaliyah share.
Hi everyone. My name is Aaliyah Mosley, and I'm a sophomore at Jemison, as Mr. Dupree said. And I'm going to be sharing my same experience with bullying, but this time, my experience is I was bullied, and then I turned around to be that bully. And so I'm going to share with you a little bit about that. And so when I first started being bullied, it was a little bit in elementary school, but I didn't think much of it until I moved to Huntsville. And that's when I started getting bullied every single day. At the time, my hair was really short. My hair didn't even pass my ears, so that was a big insecurity for me. And so I would get called bald headed. I didn't like wear the popular clothes as back then. And so I would get called like all different names. People would put their hands on me, like yank the little bit of hair I do have. Um, and one time I was in PE, and this little boy, we had hay on the grass. So this kind of boy my age, he picked up a thing of hay, because I also have crooked teeth, so I get called horse and horse face all the time. So this little boy, he picked up hay and like shoved it in my face and was like calling me a horse and other stuff. And so I was almost at a point where I didn't even want to be on the earth anymore. I was almost giving up, but praying, and I decided to push through. And so at the time, being bullied, it made me have depression. And so I ate all the time. I didn't care about what I wore. Sometimes I didn't even take baths for days at a time because I just wanted to wallow in sorrow all the time. And so I didn't do many of my work, which made me repeat that same grade. So I've been sixth grade 2 years in a row. So the second year, I told myself, you either have two choices, because you either be bullied or become the bully. Prove yourself that you're one of them. And so I chose to become a bully and do to other kids what was done to me. And then, like Sanaya said, I also became defensive, and anyone said anything to me, I would go 0 to 100 just like that. Like I would fight, I would bully, I would pick on kids. Like anybody said anything to me, like I wasn't having it. And that also, like that was from my second year of sixth grade, and I was a bully all the way up until eighth grade, until I kind of like took it too far and got into a big fight with one of my teachers, which made me go to the alternative school for 90 days. And then while I was there, I had to do a little bit of growing up, and I had to look at myself, and I discovered that I became the person that I despise. I became just like them. So how are people gonna look at me now? Because I was bullied. I know how it feels to go through that pain. And then I turn around and do it to someone else's child. And that just made me disgusted with myself. And I had to do a lot of I had to build my self-esteem and find something other to do than just to be angry all the time and picking on someone else's child, because at the same time they have feelings too, just as well as I do. And it's not going to make it any better. They're picking on someone else just because of what I went through, just because I don't want to be picked on myself. And so yeah, I had to do a lot of growing up, and now I'm glad to say I'm a sophomore now, and I'm just this better person. I'm just a better person now than I ever was. This is my best self now. And yeah, I would the road only goes up from here. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aaliyah. And we are really proud of you. And I would encourage you, if you can, just show some love in the chat. And I think I have that on. If you can, yeah, if you can just show some love to our students, our 2 students so far that have shared, just encouraging them and just sharing with them, just so they can continue and keep on that positive path. We're so proud of you, both you and Sanaya, for what you all have done, and hate that you had to go through so much. And bullying is a real thing. And, you know, that's one of the things that Martin Luther King was fighting against, is not just, you know, he fought against the bully that was, you know, that was political, that was very cultural, that was community-based, but he also stood for nonviolence. He stood for us to be able to get along. And I just want to encourage you all to continue doing that. I think it's an awesome example of what it takes and what you can do, even as a student, to, you know, to learn and grow. So again, Matt, props to both of you. And you've got some comments in the chat, and we'll make sure that we get those to you. At this time, we're all trying to, we're looking at coming together. And I wanted to go ahead and I'm going to let Miss Sarah Taylor share. She is a senior at Sparkman High School, and she is a aspiring nurse. She is a hard worker, because every time we have something going on, she's like, Mr. Dupree, I gotta go to work. Or, Mr. Dupree, I got something going on at my church. Or, Mr. Dupree, I gotta go do something in the community. So she is all about service, whether she's getting paid for it or not. So I'm gonna let Miss Sarah Taylor just share with you all at this time.
Awesome. Yes. So ever since I was young, I've loved service and I've loved helping other people. And I am a Christian, and that plays into a big part of my life. And, Jesus served. He served everyone he was around, no matter who they were, what they looked like. He loved them all equally. And so that's, where I've always wanted to strive in my life. But that never really hit as hard until 2017. So, all my life, I love to serve. I love to show love to people, but I didn't really fully know the extent and the impact that it had. And I didn't really, know exactly why I was doing it past the point of, I want to be kind and loving, But in 2017, my brother was headed on a mission trip to Botswana, Africa. And that was a mission trip that I wanted to go on my whole life. I was honestly so jealous of him because I wanted to go so bad. And they drove in a charter bus to Atlanta, to the Atlanta airport, and they were going to send off from there. And 5 miles outside of the Atlanta airport, their bus got hit by another car and spiraled through 6 lanes of traffic. And if you had seen the bus, you would be absolutely dumbfounded that anyone survived. I mean, it looked like a pancake. It was horrible. And so all of a sudden we're getting this call in the middle of the day from my brother saying, hey, and my brother is like the most calm, cool, collected guy. He doesn't get stressed out or scared very easily. And so the second he picked up the phone, we were like, okay, something's wrong. So we listened to him, and he had explained they're in a horrible wreck, and he didn't know which one of his friends were okay. It was a miracle that we even got to hear from him that he was okay, because if you had seen the pictures before we heard that, we would have thought that he was gone. But thank goodness God spared his life, and it was a miracle that I think there were 40 people on the bus, and almost all of them did survive, which is a miracle in itself. But there was one girl who didn't. And at first I was like, why did this happen? They were going on a mission trip. They were going to serve other people. They were going to change lives. And now her life is lost. And at first it's easy to get mad and upset and blame God and blame everybody else and be like, why is this happening? Well, as strange as it sounds, I've never seen such beauty come out of a situation. Actually, the morning before the crash happened, she sent a text to her cousin that said, we are like a wisp of smoke. We are only here for a moment. And this is not about us. Life is not about us. It's about God, who's eternal. So I want to dedicate the one moment I'm here completely and entirely to him. And that quote has changed my life in more ways than I can describe. I started to see that this girl's life impacted so many at my church, in my state, in the community. I mean, people all over heard about it. Maybe you've heard about it. Maybe you haven't. Maybe this is your first time. But I mean, I've talked to people today that tell me about the impact that her story had on other people. She was ready to go. She was ready for whatever God had planned for her. And she wasn't scared of what the future could bring. And God really put that situation in my life. At first I was upset. I was angry. I was like, my brother had to go through a traumatic experience. All of his friends had to, and this girl lost her life. But God used that situation for good. He changed lives throughout that. So many people found hope and found purpose. I found purpose. It changed my life because instead of just going through the motions and, complaining about 2020 has been a year to complain about, I'm not going to lie. But instead of looking at it as a year of what all I've lost, I've been able to look at it of what I still have. I've been able to look at it of how can I serve the people around me? How can I use the blessings that I have to bless others instead of being frustrated and upset about, the struggles in life. Like we're told, in this world, you will have trouble, but take heart. I've overcome the world. That's from John 16:33. And so we're told that life is going to have problems. That's just how it is, unfortunately. But there's so much good and beauty that can be used throughout that. And so that quote just really showed me that like life is short. I don't know if my last day is tomorrow or if it's next year or if it's in 70 years. But regardless, I want every moment that I'm here to be making an impact, because if not, why am I here? I want my life to have mattered here. And so that whole event really changed my entire perspective on life and how I want to use mine. And not only in a personal way, and did it deepen my faith, but it also helped me in my career. I never knew what I wanted to be. Nurse was the last thing I thought. Like if I saw blood, I probably would have fainted and freaked out. But when I saw the paramedics in that whole scene, and I saw them rush onto the scene and help all of the kids that were scared and fearful and didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, some people thought that might be their last day. They rushed onto the scene and they helped them not only physically, but they helped them emotionally. And I've never had such a clear path and answer about where I feel like I'm led to go in life. And I'm so excited about the opportunity to do nursing. Again, like I said, it was nothing I ever expected. And now I couldn't see myself doing anything differently. I have a passion for it. I'm excited about it. And I feel like that is a great way to be able to impact people in my community and my state, wherever I'm placed. And so that whole experience has really strengthened me as a person. It strengthened my thoughts of what I want to do in life. And I've been able to put it into action, especially during COVID. I've been able to work on mission trips. I've been able to work with elderly and disabled people who, need groceries, need their lawns mowed, and just be able to pour into people physically and emotionally is just as important. Because a lot of people are looking for hope and they're looking for light and they're looking for the brightness in, a year that has looked kind of dark. And so it's been awesome to take the love that has been poured into me and pour that into others. But I will say, kind of like we had talked about before, I am very vocal about my faith. And so it hasn't always been easy, especially when you are so vocal about it. I've had, I remember there's this one time in 8th grade that this guy came up to my locker every single day, slammed my locker door shut the second I opened it and screamed, "I hate you" at me. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I did to you. I had talked to him a few times, but nothing. I was like, I don't know what I did to this guy. I don't remember ever saying anything to make him say that to me. And I started getting frustrated. I started getting angry. I started getting irritated. But I'm a very passive aggressive person. So luckily I didn't let it show. But inside I was getting so mad. I was like, what is going on? Why are you upset? And so instead of getting angry, I started praying about it. And I started going, why could he be upset? Why could he be lashing out at me? Like, what did I do? And instead of looking at what I did, I started trying to listen to him and understand where he was coming from. And I ended up writing him some encouraging letters and putting them in his locker. And he came to me about a month later and confided into me and said, I'm having a really difficult home life. He had described to me some awful things that had been going on in his personal life. And I realized that he lashed out on me, not because he genuinely hated me, not because I did anything wrong, but because he knew I wouldn't lash back out at him. And that I was somebody who could kind of take that pain and hurt. And even though it was frustrating for me, I started to understand, hurt people do hurt people. And I think that's where a lot of bullying and all of that comes from. And so I got the opportunity to pour love back into him and be a friend to him. And now he's a good friend to me. And every time I see him in the hallway, I talk to him and it's a good conversation. And so I would encourage anybody that like we were just talking about, that has been bullied or, you know, has considered being the bully, a lot of times instead of, it's so easy to look at, you know, why are they hurting me? What's wrong with me? And a lot of times it's the other person that's hurting, and all they need is a little bit of extra love. And so those are some things that have really impacted my personal life, my career life, and just some, you know, things that I try to carry with me every day, that no matter how people treat you, a lot of times all they need is extra love and extra care and a friend. So that's kind of my story.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. We appreciate that. And again, I would encourage you all to just, you know, provide some feedback. We got some questions in the chat that we'll answer right after our next speaker comes in and shares, Mr. Brother Joshua. And he is a recent graduate of Alabama A&M, very recent as what, a couple of weeks ago. So
yes, sir. In
mechanical
December.
engineering, and he is a aspiring, wants to work in Formula One racing. So if anybody's listening and you got any connections, some ends to get him on a Formula One team, he's looking for it. I'm just putting that plug in there for you, man. Just putting that plug in there for you. So I'm gonna let him go ahead and share.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. I'd like to greet everyone in the Zoom meeting on the panel list with the beautiful words of peace that we say in Arabic. Assalamu alaikum. From that introduction, you can tell that I am a member of the Nation of Islam. I grew up as a member of the Nation of Islam. So me being young and having the attention that the nation gets as a young child is definitely affecting. How do you grow up? How do you grow up with that? And I just would like to say, all the panelists, I was very nervous because we were always taught, the minister taught, as him right there, that you should always respect the students like they're adults. Each and every one of the students on this panel is adults. And so I was nervous because I'm not sure what I'm going to say to these students and to the audience who are going to grow up and become full-fledged adults. And so I just like to say that there were very powerful testimonies, very powerful testimonies. I recently graduated from Alabama A&M with a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, minor in Computer Science, concentration in propulsion. I've gone to California on internships. I had an internship where I worked on the presidential aircraft. I worked on NASA Orion spacecraft. I'm very aerospace oriented. In college, I was a part of the Alabama A&M Special Projects Laboratory organization, where you can actually work on a NASA human rover competition and FSAE, the Formula One that Mr. Dupree was talking about. It was excellent. And I'm also a representative from the AAMU NOI Student Association, where we're built off of faith, charity, love, Islam, journey, fasting, and prayer. With that said, we open today's panel saying that service is the key. Service is power. Or at Alabama A&M, we say service is sovereignty. And sovereignty means to rule over all. And I like to just talk about Dr. Martin Luther King, and how he served his community with the words what he was saying, especially his speech, "I have a dream." Now, a lot of the students and the people in this panel might not realize it, but the dream that Dr. King was talking about was these students. These students today, they are not afraid to stand up for themselves. They are not afraid to call out oppression, to call out bullying, to be that friend, to help that other person, and to bring in the new civilization that he was talking about in that dream. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is right there, and then there's a picture of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad with Muhammad Ali right next to him. Those men right there loved Dr. Martin Luther King for that reason. They had the same mission. They believe that this world of oppression, and I'm from the Nation of Islam, so you're gonna hear it. The world of oppression uh, that we live in today, whether it is black or white, uh, tyranny, uh, tyrannical actions, is all about to collapse and come to an end. And a new uh, generation is going to bring in a beautiful civilization. It's going to be high tech, uh, healthy foods, uh, beautiful families, beautiful children. We're all gonna come together and help each other out. And once we get out of this situation in COVID, it's going to be completely different. I like to add on uh, a couple of words from Jesus, and I know in high school, growing up, me being in high school, growing up with the Nation of Islam, uh, believe it or not, I didn't have a problem with my faith and my association with Islam. I went to a Catholic school, Montgomery Catholic, and um, the number one reason why I didn't have that problem is because one, the teaching of Jesus, and two, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. He says the best religion is to treat people how you would want to treat yourself. That's the best religion. And so once we do that, we end up making friends, opportunities start opening up to us, our hearts are open because the young lady said earlier today, we've all been in situations where we treated someone poorly, and if we just sit and ponder and think just for a second, like, man, wow, how would I feel if I was that person and I was doing those types of things to them? And so uh, that's the biggest golden rule, and the Bible says, the Holy Quran says, the best of you are those in service, are serving you. And so, with that said, continue to be in leadership, continue to serve. I've served in multiple different leadership positions, and it's not because you want to be the leader, the head honcho, because there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. It's because you have a personal mission, you have a personal goal, you believe in something so big, so bad, or so good that you're the person to drive it forward. You have the vision, you can see it. And your responsibility with your vision today, especially to the high school students and the panelists, take that leadership position, take control of your vision, pass it on to other students, because trust me, they're looking to be inspired. by older generation. It doesn't matter if you're in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade. When I was in that grade and I went to the elementary school, they're looking at us like, whoa, like we some giants. And we were only in the 9th grade. Now graduating college, I've done everything that I wanted to do. Now my only mission is to help others get to that position. If you want to build a race car, holler at me. If you want to do the NASA rover competition, holler at me. If you want to do engineering, holler at me. If you want to come to Alabama A&M, holler at me. And so with that said, I'd like to thank Mr. Dupree for allowing me to come on this platform. I'd like to thank the panel for their beautiful testimonies and having the courage to come on and speak about what it means to be a bully, to stop bullying, and how to defend yourself against bullying. Well, let me add on defending yourself against bullying. It, no matter where you go, there are always going to be people who are going to have a different opposition than you. The nation is established on freedom, justice, love, and equality. And so whenever you have that person come across your path, remember your foundation, because they will irk you and they will jerk you to make you frustrated and come up out of your loving and peaceful opposition. And so with that said, I like to say thank you. That's the end of my little spiel, my little speech. And if you would like to contact me, I'm going to put my email in the chat. I'd like to thank Sister Helen, our advisor, for telling us about this and allowing the AAMU NOI Student Association to come on and speak on such a wonderful platform. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Joshua. Appreciate that. Excellent, man. And I raised my hand and you said, you know, do you want to build a race car? We had that conversation. So, you know, just let me know what I need to do. Just let me know what I need to do.
Yes, sir. 10-4.
All right. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and there are a couple of questions that people have placed in the chat. And so I want to go ahead and open it up, and I just want to encourage you to keep your answers down to a couple of minutes, couple of seconds. So one person asked the question, what advice would you give? And if you want to answer that question, just raise your hand. What advice would you give to middle schoolers who report they've been bullied, but no one is listening, not even teachers, and they don't have an advocate at their school? How do you motivate them through this process? So y'all have any advice for any young person, any middle schooler that's dealing with some stuff? Anyone can raise their hand and all right, Aaliyah, go ahead and unmute.
When you're being bullied and you feel like you have no one to turn to, and you don't feel like you can go to school, I was in that same situation. What you can do is, what helped me is I've created a whole playlist of feel good music that will get you in a much better mood. If you're being sad, you can go to the school board, someone above the principal, to let them know what's going on. You can notify your parents, and you can ask advice from other students and other people who have been in your same situation, and take advice from anyone who can, and that will most definitely get you in a better position.
Okay, all right. Anyone else want to answer that? All right, Sarah.
I would just say it really is important to tell somebody, no matter if it's your parents or it is somebody at the school. I think that your voice does need to be heard, because it's easy to bottle things down, and that's only going to make it worse. But also to know that 99.9% of the time, nothing that they're saying has anything to do with you. Hurt people hurt people. And sometimes they'll pick the first person that they think would be the easiest to bully. And it doesn't mean that you deserve it. It doesn't mean that you did anything to warrant it. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. And just remember that, and just know that I think the easiest thing for me is when people are being unkind is to pray for them and to look at, almost kill them with kindness. If you kill them with kindness, even as hard as it is to say, just know that half the time it's that person that's dealing with something, but that doesn't mean that it makes it any less hard for you. So I would, find somebody that you can trust to talk to about it instead of just bottling it up, because that can make it even harder. But to just, know that you can get through it and you can find people to help you get through it as well.
Awesome. Thank you both for sharing. And want to again just encourage you to put your comments in the chat, give some love to our panelists. We want to thank you all for sharing. And before we transition, this last piece is important because we've heard all these voices. And what I want to do now is just kind of bring in a voice that's going to help us understand, how do we communicate? And the reason the students, they chose what they wanted to talk about, who they wanted to hear from. And so now the question is, how do we, with all these different voices, with all these different backgrounds, how now do we serve the community best, being able to talk and dialogue with one another? Because it seems like communication is such a hard thing nowadays. And so Miss Caressa Acosta-Lee is going to come and she's going to share with us. And I want you to stand by. And if you have questions, you can see that we do have our Q&A opened up. So that if you have questions as we walk through this, please feel free to ask any questions. And I'm going to turn this over to Miss Lee. Are you able to share, Miss Lee, on your end, the screen?
I don't see it yet. Oh, yes, I do. I see it now. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. I hope you all have been enjoying your day so far. We had a lot of great stories, and I appreciate all of you that shared that. It takes a lot of courage, I think, to speak in front of your peers, especially. So I want to commend you for that. So obviously today's a very special day, and I wanted to kind of go over some of the different things that can kind of help us, because we've been experiencing a lot of sort of a cultural and political crisis, I guess you could say. And so I know that there's a lot of feelings just based on the past year on some of the things that you probably have witnessed or maybe even experienced yourself, and especially some of you sharing times that you were bullied even just because of who you are. Or so that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. So we'll go ahead and get started, because I don't want to PowerPoint you all to death. I know nobody loves that, but we'll kind of skip through. And if you have questions, I do have some things that are more interactive that I'd like to do, but we'll go ahead and get started. Could you see my slides okay? And can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can.
Okay, awesome. All right, so just so you know, I'm not some crazy person that's up here. I do have a background in communication. I have a master's and a bachelor in communication. I am working on a certified diversity professional certification. So I do know some of the things I'm talking about, and I just want to make sure it's always good to go ahead and at least introduce myself a little bit more. I am from Huntsville. I have a daughter that's actually been serving with some of the students here. So unfortunately, she had to work tonight, so she wouldn't be able to join y'all. So this is a little bit about me. I work for UAH. I'm the coordinator for inclusive programs and student leadership for the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. So I know some of you vary in age, but once you get to college, and especially if you come to UAH, I'd love for you to be more involved with our programs, and feel free to reach out to me anytime I can help. And my pronouns are she, her, and hers. So we're going to talk about a few different things. And again, we won't go over too many things on here as far as like vocabulary and things like that. I know you're off from school today, so we're not going to pretend it's like a school or a class today. So, but let's jump in. I wanted to see, some of the main things we'll talk about here are really major identity markers. So the first one's going to be race. And since we can't really interact, I guess, for some of you, even for the panelists, if you want to let us know, like, what do you think the difference between race and ethnicity is? Anybody want to take a stab, panel, or some of our students that are already here?
Yeah, and they can put in the chat as well. So if you have an answer, please feel free to answer in the chat as well.
Yes, I'm not very good at keeping up with both, so I'm going to go ahead and
I'll watch the chat for you. I'll watch the chat.
Yeah. So obviously race, that's more of a social construct. That's a way for us to kind of determine things on paper, based on physical characteristics of specific groups and individuals. So ethnicity is a little different. It's obviously how you, a shared culture, a group that you actually feel, it's more than just the way you look. It's maybe your religion, things that you do that really make you you and make your group unique. And so those are two different things, and a lot of people tend to kind of equate them to each other. And so those are just basic things I wanted to make sure that we're clear beforehand. And obviously culture is something that's an important topic. Obviously culture is, more than just your ethnic group and what you do. It can be different things and different customs that you do, different traditions that is very unique to your family. So anything that really defines you as a person is really going to be embedded in that culture that you are associated with. And Brandon Edwards talked a little bit about, with the LGBTQIA+ community, but I did want to make sure that sex and gender is something that's differentiated, because a lot of people tend to bring those or to kind of equate those as the same, but they are very different. There are only two sexes, and that's male and female. And that's really only on how you were born, if you had male or female biological parts. And then of course, gender is very different, and that's a social construct that, someone can feel completely different from what they were born as. So I want you to think about these types of terms, because those are things that are very important as people identify as an individual. And so we'll get next to identity. So these are the things that make you you. What do you think of when you're thinking of yourself? What are the important characteristics about you that make you unique? And so I'm going to go over the generational identities, because that's another really important thing, because I know my generational identity is very unique, and a lot of the different characteristics about my generation kind of make me who I am. And obviously a lot of you are in the Gen Z population generation. So you all are experiencing a lot of different things, and some of the stuff that you've seen this past year even are going to really define you as a person moving forward. And I don't know what all the different age groups are. I know, Joshua had mentioned he's already been in college, so I know he's older than some of you, and then some of you are still in high school. So it's interesting how, you can be in one generation and there's such a broad spectrum of your experience, because I, for one, I'm considered an exennial, but if you look at by date, I would be considered a millennial, because I'm one of the older millennials, but I don't feel like I identify with the millennials, because I was the youngest of four, all of my siblings being in Gen X, and I just did not have the same experience as a lot of the typical millennial experiences. I had a very unique experience, which is why I added exennials, because that's actually a subgeneration that not many people actually acknowledge. But exennials, which is what I fall under, we had a very, very specific experience. We had life before the internet, and we had life after it. So we've really been able to kind of see what it was like throughout the entire evolution of internet and social media and all of that fun stuff. And then also, we experienced 9/11 and different things like that. And of course, all the other generations experience things like that as well, that kind of make them unique and make them have these new and unique perspectives. So that is also another way, that we identify individually. So we'll go on to one of the things that I talk about sometimes in some of the different discussions is the cultural iceberg theory. And that's something that was by a researcher named Edward Hall, and he coined that term in 1976. And basically we see about what we see is going to be that surface culture, and that's like what you wear, how you carry yourself. Those are the sorts of things that people sort of judge from that surface value. And then of course there's that deep culture, and those are those really unique identifying things about you, what your religious ideology is, your political ideology, your attitudes towards various social subjects, things like that. Those are the types of things that nobody's going to know just by looking at you. And that's why you have to get to know people. You're not going to understand a person. I know that it's really easy to make snap judgments about a person based on the way they look, but you can't always assume that that's the way a person thinks and feels. So, and we see about 10% of what we can maybe assume from a person, and the other 90% are the things that you're going to have to figure out by just getting to know them and really trying to experience their culture. So these are some of the things that make me unique, and I just wanted to put there's some different little characteristics and identity markers about me that you may not have known about me, or maybe you did, but you might not have known that about me before I got on here. And so we're just going to take a little bit of time, and I want you all to, and if you have your phone out, you can use your QR code. And I wanted to see what makes you you. So just take like one word, or it could be one or two words even, and then just, tell us what makes you unique and what really makes you you. And it can be, you can enter this multiple times. And we'll take I don't want to take too much time, but we'll take about 30 seconds. Is that okay, Lamont?
I'm trying to do it myself, so this is kind of cool. Okay.
It is a fun activity. Are y'all able to find the live poll for it?
I can't. Am I doing something wrong?
No. Let me make sure that
do we put it in the question or in the poll?
So you'll put it in the live poll.
Okay, poll.
Let me make sure that it's up and ready for y'all. I'm not sure if you're able to see my screen either. Are you still able to see? I'm going to stop my screen for now. Okay, I'm going to stop it for now, and then I'll pick it back up. So, because I want to make sure that you don't see everybody's answers. So you should be able to.
It's coming up now.
Is it open up? Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Now we'll take.
All right.
We'll take
Now we got it. I'm gonna have to steal this from you. This is kind of cool.
Just share it with me, please, in my email, because I can't see your screen for some strange reason, but don't take any time.
Okay. Yeah, let me know if you're having trouble. You should be able to. I think I probably didn't even activate it, so that's my fault. But go ahead and take some time, and we'll I'll let you know when to stop. And anybody could be doing this. If you're watching, you should be entering these yourself. Nobody can see who's putting those things in, so just want to make sure you're aware of that as well. Okay, we'll do about 10 more seconds. All right, almost ready. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop, and then I will show y'all some of the results that people had put. Let's see here.
That's cool. I like that.
Okay, I'm going to try sharing my screen again now. Okay, so as you can see, this, typically if people have the same answer, then it would be kind of bigger. But so these are some of the answers that we got. And obviously we've got a good mix of people here, and things that really, people, how they see themselves and how they really identify and what makes them unique. So I just wanted to take a little bit of time to do this one because, we all have different unique backgrounds and characteristics. There's a lot of really special things about us as individuals. And of course, you know, when you have all your different friends, and even though you might share a lot of the same things with your friends, you might not necessarily be exactly the same. Nobody's really exactly the same. So that's why it's important to remember that, you know, everybody is unique, and you know, we try to celebrate each other's differences. And one of the major things that we talk about is intersectionality. So let me go back to my slide real quick, and then we'll pick back up there. All right, can y'all see that now? Sorry, all the technical difficulties. Okay. Oops. Sorry about that, y'all. Grandma's having it. Okay. So intersectionality, and Brandon Edwards actually, not to pick on him, but because I know he's not here, but he did talk a little bit about that. You know, intersectionality is really, you know, it's an interconnected nature of social categorizations such as race, class, gender, you know, all these things that really can make us unique and how they apply to a given individual or group. So, you know, Mr. Edwards earlier had mentioned that he is, you know, as a Black male, you know, just his experience he's had a very unique experience and has been bullied for that. But then you add the fact that he's also a Black gay male, and his experience is completely different. So his experience as a Black gay male is completely different from an experience for a Black straight male. So that's one of the things that's really important to think about when you think of intersectionality. You know, what things can kind of compound the hardships, or, you know, it doesn't necessarily even have to be that, but there's a lot of different things that make everybody's experiences unique. And intersectionality, of course, is one of them, a definite major thing that can make your experience unique. And that's always something to remember when you are talking to people, because, you know, you never really know what a person has been through. And especially if they look different than you, then you can assume that you definitely have not experienced the same things. And I think a lot of times we tend to forget that. So let's talk about the current cultural climate, which has been pretty crazy lately. And, you know, because we are talking about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I wanted to talk about him in specific because, you know, right now, as we celebrate Dr. King, you know, Dr. King is known for his, you know, integral role in the civil rights movement. He did so much for America, but it's, you know, the fact that we are still having issues right now is something that, you know, we really need to acknowledge. And, you know, a lot of the people that have been involved with the Black Lives Matter movement, for instance, up until this past year, you know, some people really did not want to acknowledge the movement because they looked at it as something that was, you know, radical, for instance. Well, Dr. King was actually looked at the same way. And I don't know how many people, that's not something that people tend to really talk about when they talk about Dr. King, but it is something that's very important to remember because, you know, back then in the civil rights movement, Dr. King was looked at as a radical, and he was definitely looked at as somebody that was not helping the country. And there was even a poll that was done back then that was asking Americans if they thought that, you know, his work in the civil rights movement was actually helping or hurting the country. And I'd say about 50, I think it was 57% that agreed that he was hurting the country. And I, you know, the rest of that wasn't actually that they thought he was helping, but it was 15% of that did not even answer. They had no opinion on it. And of course, now we look at Dr. King as the gold standard when it comes to the civil rights movement. So that is something to think about, because right now there are a lot of people, and like, you know, like Brandon had mentioned earlier, there are a lot of young people that are out there protesting right now, and especially protesting in peaceful ways and demonstrating in ways that are just to call out social injustice and racial injustice. Yet there are people that kind of from outside looking in that look to, you know, them as troublemakers and people that need to sit down. And that's something that definitely is the same way that I think that Dr. King was looked at in the past. you kind of look at what we've gone through this past year, and this was only from maybe a snapshot of a few months during COVID. There's a lot that's happened since here, but if you really, really want to get past, a lot of the issues that we're having, you have to really acknowledge the history. And so this chart kind of shows you sort of a modern day counterpart to the things that have happened in history. So not only is it important to really both know the true history and to acknowledge these things, and you also have to look into the present and what you want to do in order to change that. And there's a lot of things also as far as acknowledging the present, that just like acknowledging things about yourself and about the privileges you have, which makes me want to do another activity. And this is something that I think is important, because it's a way that you can kind of help when you're having these conversations with people that may not necessarily understand their privilege, for instance, because I think that's a term that a lot of people don't really want to understand. And there's a really, really easy way to kind of break it out without having to have any kind of like social commentary on it. So again, take your phone out and let's use your QR code. Let me make sure I'm getting this so y'all can actually do it and it's not messing up on me. And then we'll take a look at all the different answers we've got. So first, I want to start with people here that are right-handed. So raise your hand if you're a right-handed person. Okay, like that. Anybody that's on here that's right-handed, this poll is for you. So go ahead, and I want you to tell me what sort of things that you've experienced on a day-to-day basis that make it difficult for you. What sort of hardship? Like, what are the things that prevent you from having or being right-handed? I guess what kinds of things that being a right-handed person gives you problems? And just take like 30 seconds of naming all the different things as a right-handed person that you have to deal with.
What's the QR code again?
Hold on, let me show it to y'all again. I'm sorry about that. Ooh. Sorry, y'all. Grandma takes a long time when it comes to going back and forth on Zoom. Do y'all see it now?
Yes.
Okay. And then if you don't have the QR anymore, it's slido.com, and then the event code is 1/18/2021. All right, let's take like 15 more seconds. All right. So now the next one's for our left-handed folks. So I know that there's got to be some of y'all, I know I'm one of them. Left-handed people, I want y'all to tell me what kind of things that, what kind of struggles do you have to deal with day to day as a left-handed person? And if there's just one of you, name all the things.
I remember back in the day, I'm not left-handed, but I remember those left-handed scissors. You know, as a right-handed person, I couldn't use left-handed scissors. I remember that.
Oh yeah.
Only you, Lamont, only you.
Come on, lefties. I know you got more stuff than this, or there's got to be more people than this.
Someone
only
put in the
answered
chat
one, yeah.
that they couldn't find a left-handed desk in school. That somebody put that in the chat.
Okay. We'll give about 10 more seconds, lefties, and then we'll look over both of these. And Lamont, tell me if I'm going, if I need to stop and we can focus on something else, because I get kind of easy to lose
Take
track.
about 4.5 more minutes.
Okay, and we should be wrapping up pretty soon. All right, lefties, I'm giving you 10 more seconds. That's 10 extra seconds. Sorry, righties.
Somebody said in the chat, when sitting next to right-handed people, elbow hitting when writing.
Yeah.
Are you seeing the chat? Someone else said, kid made fun of them for being left-handed.
All right, well, let's stop now. We'll stop now and then we'll take a look at these results. So let me pull up, share my screen again. I'm gonna get faster at this, I promise. Okay, so these are the issues that our right-handed folks said. Not many, I can't think of any, nothing in particular, restriction, can't use my left hand, none. So, okay, so let's go to left-handed. And while, before I show these results, there's not quite as many on here that probably put these out there. So left-handed, notebooks, I'm not a lefty, elbows at the table, ink on my hand, binders, scissors. Yes, I relate to all of these struggles as a left-handed person. Smudging, writing, guitars, being made fun of, couldn't find desk. So yes. So what would you say as far as left-handed, right-handed? Who has a harder time just on a day-to-day basis? Left-handed people?
Definitely.
It's fair to say. Yes. So that is just a very basic way that you can really hone in on the idea of privilege. You know, the concept of privilege isn't just, it doesn't have to be about race. It doesn't have to be about sexual orientation. You can break it down into a very easy concept of just a left-handed, right-handed person and the different things. And that's why, you know, I wanted to bring up intersectionality, because when it goes back to the experience as perhaps that a Black male may have, and then you add the factor as a poor Black male or a poor gay Black male. So think about that when you're thinking about the intersectionality of experience. Does that make sense to everybody? Hopefully so. Okay. So let's move on, and we won't really spend a whole lot of time on this, on the rest of it, but let me get back on my screen share, y'all. I'm almost there. Okay. So now that we have gone, you know, from our privilege check, and, you know, I mentioned that I work in diversity, equity, inclusion. And so, you know, I think everybody here knows what diversity is. You know, we're representing different various identities and differences. But a lot of people tend to think of just, you know, race, ethnicity when it comes to diversity, and that's not the case. There's diversity in everything, diversity in thought, diversity in your abilities, diversity in gender. So make sure that when you are thinking about diversity, that you're thinking of all the different things that make you unique. Equity is something that's important, but I think a lot of people tend to mix equity and equality together. Equity, of course, is, you know, focusing on fair treatment, equal opportunity, equal access to resources. So can somebody tell me what the different, like if I wanted to show equality in this picture, what would the equality look like? Olivia, you want to unmute and say?
They would all have only one box, and that wouldn't even be fair to like the short person, because they still wouldn't be able to see over the fence.
Excellent, you are exactly right. So the biggest difference between equity and equality is, you know, with equity, you're giving sort of specialized tools. You're taking it a step further when it comes to equality, and you're making sure that everybody has that equal opportunity, you know, for whatever it is that they need accessibility for. And of course, inclusion. Everybody knows about inclusion. That's just making sure that we're treating everybody fairly and you know, taking care of one another. And so these are sorts of things that are really important. You know, my job as an ODEI or a DEI practitioner is to champion for inclusive excellence, and that's, I work primarily with students, and just making sure that our students feel represented and feel seen and heard. That's just the biggest part of my role. and just to provide, you know, a place for students to feel welcome. That's exactly why, especially at a college campus, is important, because we have people that are coming, you know, to campus and have never been away from home, and so we can be your sort of home away from home, and you can find your people and find friends and find people that really make you feel more comfortable to be there, and sort of have a family outside of being away from your family. So what sort of things do you think are important for you to do as far as your job and what your role in society is? You can be a bystander. That means just kind of sitting and letting things happen and not really saying much about it, maybe internalizing everything. You can be an ally, which I think is great. You know, you stand, you know, just really making sure that you're supporting those that are different than you. But I think the most important thing that we like to make sure is to make sure our students are not just being allies, but also ambassadors. And that's advocating for others and making sure that you're not just, you know, saying these things on social media, you're actually getting up and doing things and being proactive and trying to make some change. And there's several ways that you can do that. And a lot of that is just being a responsible human being and making sure that you're engaging in constructive dialogue. That means having hard conversations sometimes, advocating for your friends and anybody that is different from you, getting involved. And the biggest one, if anything, is empathy, because it's very important to empathize with others and make sure that you understand there's always a reason why people are upset. So kind of trying to figure out what that reason is and how you can really understand that, instead of just judging based on, you know, somebody being mad because you think it might be silly. And so what can we do from here? Well, there's, you know, we went over some of those things, but, you know, since y'all are all over social media and on your phones all the time, it's really important to make sure that you're thinking a lot about the things that you put out there into the universe. So make sure that the things that you're putting out there are true. They're factual information. You're not just hearing it from somewhere and just kind of posting it. You're not posting articles you didn't actually read because the title sounded cool. Or you're not just, you know, saying something that just might offend people. You know, take some time to really think about that. We do have freedom of speech, and that's wonderful about our country, but it does not mean you have freedom from consequence. That's a very, very important thing to remember, because the internet never forgets. You know, people screenshot things all the time. So make sure you're having the hard conversations, make sure you're remembering the privileges you have in a space, and, you know, acknowledging that when you're talking to others, and also empathizing and speaking up for others. And I hope that when you are of age, that you make sure you register to vote, because that's a whole other thing we can talk about. But your vote is your superpower. And if you really want to make change, you want to make sure that you are voting, because that is a very important, and not just voting for a presidential election, making sure you're taking time for our local and state elections, because that's where a lot of the things really matter. So making sure you're getting involved in those things, and also making sure that you are doing as much as you can, you know, to help others or engage in the community to where you can actually make the change yourself. So that's really all I've got. I have, you know, lots of time for questions. I'm sorry if I kind of went all over the place trying to figure out the technology side of it, but I am here if you ever need me. I've got my contact info here, and I am on the social media stuff sometimes, so you can find me there, or you can reach out to me anytime. And if I see some of you at UAH, I'd love for you to come visit me, so make sure you swing by. But I thank you so much for allowing me to come talk to y'all. I know we breezed through a lot of this stuff, but I'm always here if you need anything. So if you want to shoot me an email or just ask me a question in private, if you don't feel comfortable talking now, then please feel free to.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Caressa. We appreciate that. Let me go back. All right. Excellent. Thank you so much. And just a couple of things as we kind of wrap this up. Few terms that I want us to kind of highlight. One is, of course, to understand a lot of things that we're learning now is being anti-racist. See what that means. You know, it's not just about being, you know, not saying anything negative, but it's also being proactive and doing things. The other thing that I thought about, I was reading something where it said, you know, a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, I don't see race or I don't see color. And my answer to that oftentimes is, I don't want you not to see my race. I don't want you not to see my color. I want you to see it, but I also want you to appreciate it. Because I don't, I don't think there's anything such as a colorblind society. We all are going to have bias. We're all going to have things that we understand and know and have different opinions about, and that's okay. We just want to be respected regardless of whatever culture, whatever color, whatever ethnicity, wherever country we're from, and be able to handle those things in a constructive way. So thank you so much, Caressa. I appreciate that. And we're going to wrap this up, but real quick, for those of you who still logged in with us, I want to thank you all. And this is a part of a larger project. The Youth Services, Youth Serving Youth Council is a new project through the Youth Services Council. And this is part of that project. So we did something during 9/11. This is something we're doing now as a Martin Luther King Day of Service. Our next project will be for the Global Day of Service. And as a part of this process, we are going to be constructing a mural. And so this mural is going to be a mobile project. So we passed out some tiles, these canvases that the students could paint. What their meaning is, that the name of the mural is, I'm sorry, I'm taking your thunder, aren't I, Nisha? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm gonna let Miss Nolan speak and share. I got caught up. All right, here we go. You kick it. You got to come off of mute. There we go. All right. You there? You're not unmuted. We can see.
Sorry, technical difficulties, right? That's the life. As Mr. Dupree said, I am Anisha Nolan. I am the co-collaborative, or one of the co-collaboratives on the bigger picture of the Youth Servicing Youth, which is actually like a sub organization of youth services of Madison County. And we are the adults who come together and try to serve the youth and come up with things and support each other. We're all nonprofits. And so the youth who have signed up with Youth Serving Youth are the youth version of us. And we're so excited to have you all. You all did an amazing job. I am so proud of everyone. Y'all have me inspired and just reminded me of why I do what I do every day, even though it can be daunting sometimes, right? Adults, it can be, but we do it. And so y'all have inspired me. Thank you to everyone, your testimonies, your charge, your faith, sharing your faith. Everything was wonderful. So it brings us all back to one thing that Caressa was saying about, one word that stuck out to me was ambassador. And I thought that was a great charging people to kind of be that ambassador. And so the youth came together, they figured out what they wanted to do, and they had a lot of different ideas, but they wanted to do a mural. And this mural represents for Martin Luther King Day, and this mural represents what Martin Luther King stood for. And I'm sorry, I always get it, but it's about serving. It's about what everyone's definition of serving looks like. We're putting a vision to that. And so what you're going to see, everyone get ready. What you're going to see is everyone individually, their interpretation of what serving looks like, what justice looks like. And we did not give them anything. They all created this. So I'm excited. I haven't seen anything, so I'm excited, but this is the beginning. And I just want to say, if you are interested in serving and being part, please register with interview.com, and you look for your school and look for our organization. And if you have questions, please reach out to myself, and I'll try to put my info in the chat. Myself, Mr. Dupree, Ms. Addie Walker, or any of the youth on this panel. Let's give them another hand of applause, because I'm just so proud of them. But anyone, please, we charge you to serve. We want you to serve. We want you to be ambassadors. I love that, Caressa. Thank you so much. So Are y'all ready? Y'all ready, everybody? Okay. On the count of 3, I want you to show what we have. All right? 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Wow. Beautiful. I am so proud.
Oh, wow, wow.
Wow.
That is amazing.
Thank you so much.
And I want to also, if anyone has a canvas that they did that's in the chat, go ahead and click on your, either raise your hand or just tell me you have one, and I'll let you become a panelist, and y'all can bring you on screen as well. And you can show us your mural canvas. So this is a beginning of a process, because we're, like I said, we're going to be constructing this mural from the many canvases that we receive. We've got some ideas, and so, you know, if anyone else is in the chat that did a canvas, go ahead and let me know, and I'll make sure I'll bring you on screen, and you can let us see what you've done. If not, if you're interested in doing one, please put it in the chat so we can reach out to you. This is for students. Love you adults, but this is for students. But if you want to, please. Okay, cool. All right, Alana, tell me what's her name, so I can pull her up.
I know Destiny Simons had one.
Destiny, all right, I'm gonna find Destiny. Alana, you have yours too. So I'm gonna, y'all bear with us for a minute. This is something they worked on. I'm going to promote Alana, and I'm gonna promote, let's see. Joshua, I'm gonna, well, no, I can leave you up there. All right, so Destiny, awesome. Excellent. 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 Alana, I know you did one. Oh, wow. Awesome.
Beautiful.
Excellent. 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 Let me see. Anybody else? Ayana, let me find Ayana. I'm coming, Ayana. Hold on. I'm coming. Don't go nowhere, Ayana.
We can't leave anyone behind. No one left behind.
Come on in, Ayana. Miss Starling, let's see what you got. Open up your screen. Let's see what you got, Miss Ayana. I am.
Okay, there she go.
There you go.
Lift it up a little higher, Ayana.
Lift up a little higher.
A little higher.
There we go.
Beautiful. Oh, yes.
Excellent. Excellent. And Miracle, let me get you, Miracle. Hold on. All right.
All right.
Miracle. I think Miracle. I'm not seeing Miracle, so we'll have to get her a little later. Okay, her Zoom didn't work. Okay, all right, all right. Oh, I'm sorry, Candace. I have to get them, but we'll put those things also. We'll try to get those from you, and so just be on the lookout. We'll be hopefully looking at visiting a school near you. One of the goals is to let this move around and to get people more tiles so that we can really begin to build this. So I'm not going to bother with taking people out. We just want to go ahead and just say thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your staying by with us. Thank you for participating in this. This is our first rendition of this, and so hopefully we'll get more funding. We can continue with this process, but thank you all so much. Any last comments in the chat? Go ahead and put those there. And otherwise, just want to remind you, especially my students, that if you want to receive a free t-shirt like this, it's a Game Changers t-shirt. Our goal is to have 1,000 students in Madison County sign up to do service. And so we want to encourage you to sign our service pledge. I'm going to put that in the chat. And if you sign the pledge, you will get a free t-shirt, as well as you'll be able to join and hear about the things that we'll be doing going forward. So just sign up in the Game Changer Challenge. Alana, I want to give a mad shout out to her because she did an extraordinary job. I think she has several people that she's already recruited. Each student is tasked with finding 10 students in their school or in their sphere of influence that will be willing to sign up. And so we want to encourage our students to continue to do that. All right, listen, we're over time, but I appreciate it. Any last comments, Ms. Nolan?
Just thank you all. Please sign up. It's not optional. We need y'all. Y'all are the game changers. We getting old, so we need y'all to take our place. So please do it, and thank you all so much.
Speak for yourself on that old stuff, but but thank you all again. We appreciate it. Thank you, students. Y'all did an extraordinary job, and we will be in touch. And I'll let you all know when we start planning for the next thing, which is our Global Day of Service. So thank you all so much. We appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you, brother. Keep going.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. You as well.
Yes, sir. I got